Sometimes the most profound hurts arrive not with a warning but with a deceptive embrace, a familiar smile, or a treasured memory from the past. These are the moments when someone you trust deeply asks about your day, yet leaves you utterly depleted, or whispers, "I love you," just before trampling over your boundaries once more. We often let these transgressions slide, not from weakness, but because we've been subtly conditioned to mistake enduring pain for loving deeply. But there's a powerful, liberating truth rooted in Stoic philosophy. Being a good person doesn't mean becoming a doormat. And unconditional love in its truest form does not demand unconditional tolerance. There are lines that, once crossed, demand our unwavering attention, no matter if the person crossing them is family, a partner, or a colleague. As Epictetus wisely taught us, you are not harmed by what others do. You are harmed when you allow it to continue. If you've ever walked away from a conversation feeling diminished, or as if a part of you is slowly fading, this message is for you. We're about to unveil 5 critical behaviors you should never tolerate and how to reclaim your peace and power. Part 1. The subtle erosion of self-worth. Unmasking constant criticism. It rarely begins with a harsh shout. Instead, it starts with a quiet sigh, a pointed question like, "Why do you always do it that way?" Or a seemingly innocuous comment like, "That shirt again? You really think that's a good idea?" These small, repetitive remarks accumulate, day after day, week after week, until you find yourself questioning your own instincts. You begin to hesitate before speaking, meticulously filtering your thoughts in real time, not because you lack confidence, but because someone has systematically taught you that your perspective is inherently flawed. This isn't constructive feedback. This is a slow, insidious erosion of your spirit. There's a crucial distinction between genuine guidance and manipulative control. Constructive feedback is characterized by its focus, kindness, and an underlying desire to uplift and build. In contrast, constant criticism is often vague, relentlessly repetitive, and always targets who you are, rather than what you do. You can feel its chilling effect in your gut, and hear its destructive intent in the tone. It doesn't sharpen your abilities, it systematically shrinks your very essence. This pattern of criticism takes on different guises depending on the relationship. Within families, it often appears as unfavorable comparisons. Your cousin already bought a house, or your sister never talks back. In romantic relationships, it's frequently cloaked in sarcasm. "Relax, I'm just being honest," or the dismissive, "You're too sensitive." In the professional sphere, it's often disguised as perfectionism. "Good job, but next time maybe don't." Or, "I wish you were more like." The insidious trap here is that the more familiar this behavior becomes, the more we normalize it. We stop registering the emotional ache, cease fighting the encroaching silence, and ultimately begin editing ourselves just to survive within the relationship. However, Stoicism offers a profound teaching. What you allow, you teach. By permitting someone to incrementally erode your worth day after day, you are, in essence, silently granting them permission to continue their destructive pattern. Epictetus's wisdom resonates deeply here. No one can harm you without your consent. Criticism that directly attacks your dignity is not a tool for growth. It is a calculated form of subtle domination. So how do you respond to this silent assault? Begin by acknowledging the sensations within you, the tension in your chest, the profound fatigue after a conversation, the physical shrinking of your posture. These are not exaggerations or overreactions. They are undeniable warning signs, signals your soul has been desperately sending you, indicating that something is profoundly wrong. You don't need to yell, nor do you need to meticulously explain yourself. Your only requirement is to draw a clear, calm, and resolute line, delivered with unwavering conviction. The longer you tolerate relentless criticism, the more you lose connection to your authentic inner voice. And when that vital compass is lost, you lose the very guide for your entire life's journey. Never confuse prolonged endurance with genuine wisdom, nor superficial politeness with true inner peace. Sometimes the journey to healing begins with a simple yet profound statement. That felt like criticism, not care. Utter it once, then observe. Notice who responds with genuine respect and who only knows how to engage through a desperate need for control. If these insights resonate with you and help you reclaim your inner compass, consider subscribing to the Chill Stoic for more wisdom that protects your peace and sharpens your mind. Part 2. Reclaiming your sacred space, understanding boundary violations. It always starts subtly. Perhaps an unrequested late-night phone call, an unsolicited opinion about your life choices, or someone consistently infringing upon your time, energy, or personal space without a moment's hesitation to ask permission. You might initially brush it off, rationalizing that it's not that big of a deal. Yet deep within, an uneasy feeling lingers, a quiet whisper that insists, "This isn't okay." You silence that inner voice, perhaps because it's a parent, a sibling, or someone who frequently declares their love for you. But here is an uncomfortable truth. Love without respect is merely a form of possession. If someone consistently refuses to honor your boundaries, they are not loving you in a healthy way. They are simply managing you. Consider the story of a man whose mother would arrive unannounced at his home every week, key in hand. She would rearrange his belongings, comment on his groceries, and even open his mail. When he finally gathered the courage to ask her to call before visiting, her dismissive response was, "I'm your mother. I don't need permission." That single sentence, not for its volume but for its stark revelation, stayed with him for years. It laid bare her perception of him, not as an autonomous individual, but as a mere extension of herself. This is the essence of boundary violation, not just overt disrespectful actions, but subtle, persistent patterns that silently declare, "What matters to you holds no importance to me." The longer you allow this to continue, the more you forget that your time, your space, and your emotional energy are fundamentally your own. Some individuals breach boundaries unknowingly. They may have been raised in environments where love was synonymous with unchecked access, where privacy was perceived as rejection, and closeness was equated with control. However, others are acutely aware of their actions. They don't overtly shatter your limits, they meticulously test them. They lean in just enough, apologize just enough, and expertly twist your empathy into guilt until you become a perpetual yes machine. And when you finally assert yourself with a no, their surprised declaration, "Wow, you've changed," is merely a veiled accusation. "You stopped letting me control you." Stoicism teaches us that boundaries are not about pushing people away. Rather, they are about safeguarding what is truly precious and worth keeping close: your inner peace, your focus, and the sanctity of your soul. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." I would argue that it also becomes profoundly colored by the individuals we allow into our lives, unfiltered and unchecked. So, how do you respond when your boundaries are continually breached? Begin by radically shifting the energy of the interaction. When someone crosses a line, there's no need to justify your worth. Instead, clearly articulate your standard. Simple, direct statements are powerful. please don't come over without calling. I'm not comfortable discussing that topic. I'm not available right now. No apologies are needed. Then comes the most crucial step: consistent follow-through, because boundaries without consequences are merely suggestions. If someone continues to disregard your clearly stated limits, you don't owe them more warnings. You owe yourself decisive action. This might involve limiting your time with them, shifting the dynamic of the relationship, or if necessary, walking away entirely. Stoic strength isn't about erecting impenetrable walls. It's about drawing firm lines with quiet conviction and possessing the unwavering discipline to uphold them. The moment you cease treating your boundaries as optional, you begin to teach others how to genuinely love you, not through guilt or obligation, but through profound respect. Part 3. The Silent Destroyer. Recognizing gaslighting and emotional manipulation. Some wounds leave no visible marks. No bleeding, no bruises, no outward signs for others to witness. Yet, they are undeniably present in the way you second-guess your own memories, in the constant questioning of your own emotions, in the hesitant beginning of a sentence with, "Maybe I'm just being too sensitive," even when your deepest knowing tells you otherwise. This is the insidious power of gaslighting. It is one of the most dangerous forms of manipulation, not because it attacks you from the outside, but because it systematically dismantles you from within. It typically begins with small, disorienting contradictions. "I never said that." "You're imagining things." "Don't be so dramatic." You walk away from conversations feeling profoundly off-kilter, as if you've lost an argument you didn't even realize you were in, as if your very brain is being subtly rewired without your comprehension. Over time, you inevitably begin to doubt your own reality, asking yourself, "Was I truly wrong? Am I too emotional? Am I in fact the problem?" The unequivocal answer is no, you are not. You are being meticulously played. Gaslighting is not a simple misunderstanding. It is a deliberate, calculated strategy. It is a methodical process of twisting your clarity into confusion, eroding your confidence into crippling doubt, and silencing your authentic voice. The individual who employs gaslighting has no interest in genuine communication. Their sole objective is absolute control. They win when you begin to meticulously scrutinize your own actions rather than theirs. They win when your inherent truth becomes negotiable, when your reality is transformed into a courtroom where they hold the sole authority as judge. But here lies a powerful Stoic truth. Your mind is your ultimate fortress, and no one, regardless of their charm, their closeness, or the subtlety of their tactics, has the right to occupy it without your explicit permission. Epictetus once observed, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." This profound insight does not, in any way, imply that the abuse is your fault. What it signifies is that your power to resist truly begins when you refuse to allow them to dictate the terms of your reality. So, what proactive steps can you take? First, cease all attempts at debate. Gaslighters are not interested in truth, they are solely interested in dominance. Instead of arguing, observe. Begin meticulously documenting their words and your reactions. Do this not for revenge, but for your own invaluable clarity. Crucially, seek validation from someone outside the dynamic, a trusted friend, therapist, or family member, who can affirm, "No, you're not crazy. That actually happened." That moment when your memory is validated is often the precise point when deep healing truly begins. Finally, Establish an unyielding line, not a threat, not a lengthy speech, but a boundary with clear, consistent consequences. If the pattern of gaslighting persists, you don't need to raise your voice. You simply need to step back, detach yourself, and reclaim your mind. Gaslighting does not steal your power in one dramatic swoop. It erodes it slowly, one tiny moment at a time, until one day you no longer recognize yourself. But today, you see it, you feel it, and from this very moment forward, you refuse to betray your own mind, simply to maintain someone else's comfort. This isn't weakness, it is profound wisdom. The moment you fully trust yourself again, you become impenetrable to any manipulator. Part 4. The betrayal of trust, confronting chronic dishonesty. There's a precise, unforgettable moment when someone looks directly into your eyes and fabricates a lie. Not a simple mistake, not a benevolent white lie, but a deliberate, calculated distortion of the truth. And in that instant, something fundamental within you shatters. It's not just your trust in them that breaks, but your trust in your own judgment. Because if they can lie with such effortless ease, you begin to question everything. What else have I missed? Was any of it truly real? The reality of dishonesty is that it rarely manifests as one monumental betrayal. Instead, it's far more cunning, arriving in subtle drops, a detail conveniently omitted, a story that subtly shifts with each retelling, a promise casually forgotten. Initially, you extend the benefit of the doubt, but gradually you start accumulating red flags like unwanted souvenirs, until one day, the stark realization hits: you've been building your entire relationship on shifting sand. This is precisely where Stoicism draws an unyielding line with absolute clarity. Seneca, a profound Stoic philosopher, once penned, "Truth is the first lesson of friendship, because without truth, there is no relationship. There's only performance, only illusion." People often claim they lie to protect your feelings, but in reality, they are protecting their own convenience. They lie because the truth would demand effort, accountability, or shatter the carefully constructed image they've worked so hard to sell you. Let's be unequivocally clear, dishonesty takes many forms. There's omission, the deliberate choice not to reveal crucial information. There's minimization, dismissing serious issues with phrases like, "It's not a big deal." There's deflection, turning the tables with accusations like, "Why are you always so paranoid?" And then there's betrayal, wrapped in false kindness, saying all the right words while actively engaging in harmful actions behind your back. All of these forms of dishonesty have the same devastating effect. You begin to lose your emotional footing, you start to second-guess your own memory, and most tragically, you stop trusting your own judgment. This isn't merely an emotional consequence, it's neurological. Scientific studies demonstrate that repeated exposure to deception significantly weakens your confidence in your own perception of reality. This is not love, this is calculated sabotage. So, what does a Stoic do in the face of such profound dishonesty? First, you stop fixating on their words. Instead, you meticulously observe their behavior, because while people may lie with words, the truth invariably leaks through their actions. Second, you cease trying to fix them. Their dishonesty is not a burden for you to carry. You don't need another conversation. You need a definitive decision. Third, you reclaim your own clarity. Document the contradictions. Re-anchor yourself to your own truth and allow the silence between you to grow, not out of anger, but out of profound respect for your own inner peace. Because here is the harsh, undeniable truth. When someone consistently lies to you, they are communicating without uttering a single word that your trust is disposable, your peace is negotiable, and your clarity is entirely optional. Your response, therefore, must be final. Not anymore. Part 5. The Disguised Blade. Unmasking disrespectful jokes. It typically begins with a smile, a laugh, a seemingly innocent "just kidding." Perhaps you initially laugh along or force a strained grin, but deep within your chest, something tightens and a profound inner voice insists, "That wasn't funny, that was aimed." Disrespect, artfully disguised as humor, is, tragically, one of the most socially accepted forms of emotional abuse. It deftly slips under the radar, never shouting, but rather snickering, its sharp blade concealed behind a punchline, and if you flinch, if you show any sign of hurt, they quickly retort with, "You're too sensitive," or "Can't you take a joke?" Does this sound familiar? You are not overreacting, you are being baited. I recall a woman who eloquently stated, "It wasn't the insult that finally broke me. It was realizing I had spent 20 years laughing at my own humiliation just to keep the peace." Let that profound statement truly sink in. The chilling reality is that individuals who hide cruelty behind humor know precisely what they are doing. They meticulously study your insecurities, then craft their humor to target those vulnerabilities with careful, devastating consistency. Their defense mechanisms are predictable. "I was just being honest," or "Come on, don't be dramatic if you can't take a joke." But ask yourself this, if the joke only lands one way, if the only person genuinely laughing is the one wielding the knife, is that truly humor? No, that is domination in disguise. The Stoics held a vastly different and far more noble philosophy regarding the use of words. Marcus Aurelius profoundly advised, "Let your words be few and well chosen, like a physician's knife, used to heal, not to wound." So let us be crystal clear. Brutal honesty is not a virtue, it is often a convenient mask for emotional laziness and a lack of empathy. Genuine honesty is courageous, yes, but it is also inherently kind. It does not mock, nor does it humiliate. Instead, even when it's uncomfortable, it builds. So how do you respond when a joke cuts far deeper than its surface? You stop laughing. You cease validating cruelty with your complicit silence. You don't need to engage in an argument, nor do you need to offer lengthy explanations. You can simply state, "That felt disrespectful." Then, allow the discomfort to settle precisely where it belongs, with them. Because here's the unshakable Stoic truth. You do not owe anyone your tolerance for disrespect, especially if they are family. If someone consistently injects poison into their punchlines, you are under no obligation to sip it down just to maintain a false sense of peace. You are not the uptight one. You are not the difficult one. You are simply the one who has finally had enough. And that, dear friend, is not weakness. It is the profound strength of dignity taking its rightful stand. Conclusion: reclaiming your power and dignity. You have now journeyed through 5 behaviors that, though they leave no visible bruises, can quietly dismantle your spirit. Constant criticism, flagrant boundary violations, insidious emotional manipulation, gaslighting, chronic dishonesty, and thinly veiled disrespect disguised as humor. While none of these leave outward marks, all of them inflict profound damage. And perhaps the most dangerous aspect is that they frequently originate from the very people we trust the most. A partner who professes love while systematically eroding your self-worth, piece by agonizing piece. A family member who weaponizes guilt and deceptively labels it as care. A friend who exploits your silence as an implicit permission to continually cross the line. But here is a hard, yet liberating truth. What you tolerate, you teach. Every time you choose silence, every time you prioritize a superficial peace over your own authentic voice, you are inadvertently teaching others that your boundaries are optional, easily disregarded, but not anymore, because now you know better. Stoicism is not about being cold, passive, or stoically enduring pain while pretending nothing affects you. It is, at its core, about profound clarity. It is about unwavering agency. It is about recognizing precisely where your peace ends and someone else's chaos begins. Marcus Aurelius did not instruct us to passively endure everything. He taught us to perceive things exactly as they are and then to act accordingly with purpose and wisdom. This empowers you to choose who has access to your precious energy, who earns a seat at your table, and who no longer qualifies to speak into the sanctity of your life. You do not need external permission to protect your peace. You simply need courage. So, here is your definitive next step. Begin with one line, one boundary, one truth you have bravely held back. Perhaps it's finally uttering, "I don't find that funny," or with calm resolve, "That's not okay with me anymore." Maybe it's the profound decision that silence is no longer a path to survival, but rather the resonant sound of your self-respect triumphantly returning. Whatever that step is, let it be real, let it be authentic. Because when you cease tolerating what diminishes you, you simultaneously begin to build a life that profoundly honors you. And in that newly created space, you don't merely survive, you rise. If this message resonated deeply with you, please share your story in the comments. Someone out there needs to know they are not alone. Like this video if you felt truly seen. And for more insights that protect your peace, sharpen your mind, and strengthen your spirit, subscribe to the Chill Stoic. Remember, this journey isn't about becoming harder. It's about becoming profoundly wiser. You were never meant to be anyone's emotional punching bag. You were destined to stand tall, to speak your truth, and to draw the line with love, with calm, and with unwavering power.